Imagine for a moment a world where television had never been invented. You wouldn't be able to watch the World Cup finals, nor would you be able to see the first astronauts to set foot on the moon. Worse. Natural disasters. And you would only learn about historical events from newspapers days or even weeks later. Your favorite TV shows, news programs, documentaries, and live broadcasts wouldn't exist at all. Television, which has become an indispensable part of our lives today, is actually one of humanity's greatest inventions. It's not just a form of entertainment. It's one of the most powerful ways to access information, learn about different cultures, and stay informed about world events. So how did people manage to bring distant images onto a screen? From the first experiments with scrap parts to modern televisions that have found their way into millions of homes, this extraordinary story includes failures, fierce competition, brilliant ideas, and years of scientific work. Now let's go back in time and witness the birth of television together. In the late 1800s, people had almost no access to the communication tools we use today. When an event occurred, news of it would arrive days, sometimes weeks later. People went to newspapers for information, and to theaters or cinemas for entertainment.
Mr. Watson, come here. I want to see you. Mr. Bell, I can hear you.
With the invention of the telephone in 1876, it was possible to hear someone's voice for the first time from miles away. Then radio emerged, and people began listening to voices from the other side of the world while sitting in their homes. However, one major deficiency remained. Sound was audible, but there was no image. The question that puzzled scientists the most was, if we can convert sound into electrical signals and send it, why can't we send images as well? That's how the idea of television was born. The biggest obstacle facing television was the impossibility of transmitting the entire image simultaneously. In 1884, German inventor Paul Nipkow came up with a very ingenious solution. Instead of sending the image as a whole, he suggested scanning it line by line and designed a rotating disc with spiral-shaped holes in it. As the disc spun, the image was divided into segments, and each segment was scanned in turn. Just like reading a book line by line. This simple idea laid the groundwork for the basic functioning of television. Nipkow's device wasn't a complete television yet, but it was a crucial step that paved the way for all future inventors. In the 1920s, Scottish inventor John Logie Baird was trying to realize a dream that everyone thought was impossible. He had neither a large laboratory nor the financial resources. He worked with old bicycle parts, wooden boxes, lamps, and scrap materials. Those around him said he would fail, but Baird didn't give up. He developed his own system based on Nipkow's rotating disc idea. The image of the object, illuminated by a strong light, was scanned line by the disc. Changes in light were converted into electrical signals and transmitted to the other side. At the receiver, the image was reconstructed by spinning the same disc. The first recognizable image from Baird's laboratory was the face of his puppet, Stooky Bill, on October 2, 1925. The image was small, shaky, and blurry, but for the first time in history, an image had been transmitted to another screen via cable. The bright lights had burned the puppet's hair and cracked its skin. Baird showed scientists an image of a living human being in London on January 26, 1926. Those in the room didn't realize that day marked history, but the television age had officially begun. Baird's system was working, but it had major problems such as slow discs, poor image quality, and the inability to produce a large screen. Meanwhile, in America, a young inventor was taking a completely different path. Philo Farnsworth. Farnsworth was a genius who read scientific journals with great passion. At age 14, he was inspired by the parallel lines he saw while plowing a potato field in Idaho. He realized that the image could also be scanned line by line using electrons. He believed mechanical systems were too slow. He thought an electronic system could scan fast enough, at a rate of 1 scan per second. In 1927, he developed a system that completely eliminated mechanical parts. The image fell onto a camera tube called the image separator. When the light struck the photocathode, electrons were released according to the brightness. Magnetic and electric fields scanned this electron cloud line by line, and electrons passing through an opening created a variable electric current. This signal was transmitted via cable or radio wave, and in the receiver's kinescope tube, the electron beam was concentrated according to the signal, creating differences in brightness on the phosphor screen. Thus, the original image was recreated within seconds. This method was both much faster and much clearer. The basic principle of modern televisions is based on this electronic system. As soon as the future of television looked bright, big companies stepped in. The most important of these companies was the American Radio Company, RCA. Vladimir Zworykin, a Russian-born engineer working at RCA, developed camera tubes that greatly improve image quality. He made significant progress, particularly with his system called Iconoscope. In the Iconoscope, mosaic-shaped photosensitive cells collected light, producing a stronger and more precise signal when scanned by an electron beam. This allowed for clear images even in low light, making broadcasts much more reliable. Zworykin also developed a cathode ray imaging tube called kinescope for the receiving end. In 1928, John Logie Baird achieved another first. Images sent from London crossed the Atlantic Ocean via shortwave radio transmitters and reached New York. The signal was modulated into radio waves, demodulated at the receiver, and transmitted to the screen. It was now clear that television was no longer just a laboratory experiment. November 2, 1936, is a turning point in television history. On that day, the BBC began regular television broadcasts in England. The BBC was originally founded in 1922 for radio. In 1927, it became an independent public broadcasting institution by royal charter. The broadcasts were made from Alexandra Palace. The first program began with BBC Television Service launch. The program included a speech by the Postmaster General, a movie-tone news segment, Adele Dixon's song Television, a performance by Buck and Bubbles, and the BBC Television Orchestra. At that time there was only one channel, but everyone who saw television for the first time was fascinated, because images from all over the world were now entering homes. The 1939 New York World's Fair was a major event that introduced television to the public. Sales started that same year. RCA's TRK-12 models were particularly noteworthy. Large wooden consoles about 1.5 meters tall, 12-inch CRT screens, and expensive devices with top-down mirror covers that projected the image. However, production stopped when World War II broke out. After the war ended, televisions rapidly entered homes in the 1950s. Families began gathering in front of the screen in the evenings. Television quickly became central to modern life. Early televisions were black and white. People wanted color images. After extensive research, RCA's NTSC system was approved in 1953. When color broadcasting began, sports, films, and documentaries became much more realistic. Television's influence multiplied. Communication satellites came into operation in the 1960s. Satellites like Telstar 1, launched in 1962, received microwave signals from a ground station, amplified them, and transmitted them to a station on another continent. Thus, an event in one country could reach other continents within seconds. People watched the Apollo 11 moon landing live in 1969. On July 20, 1969, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin's first steps reached approximately 650 million people simultaneously. The 1960 Olympics in Rome were broadcast live internationally. The World Cup was first televised in Switzerland in 1954, and with the advent of satellite television, it reached a global audience. Television had truly shrunk the world. For many years, televisions were large, heavy tube devices. LCD screens emerged in the late 1990s. The Japanese company Sharp popularized large screen models by developing flat-wall LCD televisions. Then came plasma screens. The technology, whose foundations were laid in 1964, was commercialized by Fujitsu in the 1990s. Later, LED and OLED technologies developed. Televisions have become thinner, picture quality has improved, and energy consumption has decreased. The giants that once filled the room have now become elegant enough to be hung on the wall. Televisions are no longer just devices for watching broadcasts. They connect to the internet, run movie platforms, allow you to play games, and are controlled by voice commands. AI-powered systems automatically enhance the image. Those old experiments that began with scrap parts have transformed into cutting-edge technological marvels used by billions of people today. The story of television is a story of humanity achieving the impossible. From Paul Nipkow's spinning disc to John Logie Baird's experiments with scrap parts, to Philo Farnsworth's electronic revolution, and to today's smart televisions, this journey beautifully demonstrates what can be created when science and imagination merge. Behind every image we see on our screens today lies years of hard work by hundreds of scientists and engineers.
What are your thoughts on this topic? What should our next topic be? Don't forget to share your opinion in the comments and subscribe to the channel.